Finally, please welcome Alex R. Schmitt from the part-time division. Alex.
Good afternoon, and thank you to everyone who could be here today. First off, I would like to thank our families and our friends who have supported us through our years in law school. You have no idea what your encouragement has meant to us during this grueling period of our lives. I would also like to thank our professors and the administration for your guidance over these last few years. This week, I sat in front of my laptop trying to think of the perfect words to say that would not only put it all into perspective, but would also summarize everything that we've learned throughout our law school careers. Although every single day felt like there was no end in sight, looking back today, the past 4 years have passed within the blink of an eye. As I sat there, I wondered if I should tell you all about how mind-numbing the last few years have been, or how we managed to get through 4-hour exams on 2 weeks of little to no sleep. I wondered if I should explain the level of anxiety floating through the classroom, wondering whether the professor would call on us or not, or how it feels to read a Supreme Court opinion 3 times and still have no idea how they came to their conclusion. As I sat there, I felt the deja vu of beginning my first legal writing assignment back in October of 2007. I was anxious, I was excited, and I was wondering what in the world I had gotten myself into. Thinking back, I realized that over the past few years, not only have we made new friends, grown our first few gray hairs, and bought $5,000 worth of textbooks that smell like rich mahogany, but we've also learned more about ourselves and what it will take to succeed in this professional world. Although I had finally figured out a theme of our law school careers, I didn't want to come off too lofty or serious because, well, that's just not my style. With that in mind, before we take our first step into the real world, I'd like to talk about a few things that we, together as a class, have learned over the past few years. We've learned that Ned Flanders has an incredible knack for teaching contracts and sales. We learned that it was a very safe bet that during at least one class, Tunji Akande would have a question or a point of clarification. We found out that Professor Wright loves Facebook and will try to convince every student that he's from a different planet. We learned that Rhonda Wood can have a baby on a Monday morning and take a Civ Pro final on a Tuesday afternoon. We learned that although we had just finished our first year of law school and thought that we had gotten through the most difficult part, Professor Carlson quickly reminded us otherwise. We learned how to responsibly use our time in the library, finding ingenious ways of sneaking in food and drink past the librarians, and going through everyone's, well, not so photogenic pictures in the student directory. We learned that even though we underlined every other word and highlighted every line with 3 different colors in our 30-pound books, the only things that mattered when we were on call were the footnotes and the dissents. Where's Anthony Scott? Anthony Scott learned that you can't sneak out of Professor Hill's classroom. We learned that our days no longer ended after work, but that at midnight, when the library closed, we could finally call it a day, and that coffee and Red Bull are a lot more valuable than sleep. We learned that parking at the law school is a nightmare, and that the law students are what keep Bourbon Street Distillery open. We learned in Professor Patchell's constitutional law class that I'll get back to this. We learned that even though we somehow found the perfect outline and were preparing for our next final to set the curve, everyone else in the class had the exact same thing. We learned that gunners, even though they didn't necessarily know the right answer, would find a way to hold the professor's attention long enough just to get us off the hook. We quickly learned that the most valuable part of class was the beginning, because that's when the attendance sheet is passed around. Most importantly, we learned that we can trust in our professors, and that Professor Klein truly cares about and is devoted to his students. There's your shot. You deserved it. 3 to 4 years ago, or for some, like Senator Delph, a few more years ago, we were sitting in the halls of our colleges and universities, anxiously waiting to receive our diplomas and find a way to make a difference in the legal profession and in our lives. Little did we realize we had a long way to go. We've all had our doubts about what our futures will hold and whether our dreams of becoming respected attorneys would ever become a reality. The truth is, the challenge with the future is that it is yet to be revealed to us. But anything is possible. A wise attorney once told me, "Happy are those who dream dreams, but are willing to sacrifice to make those dreams come true." I am secure in the thought, as we sit here today, after all we have sacrificed and invested into our legal education, that the day has finally come to be truly happy, my friends. Thank you and congratulations to the class of 2011.